Okay. Well,
I eat it on hot dogs, eggs, fish, chicken, steak.
steak. Yeah, a lot of people would be mad at you
Yeah.
for doing that.
Yeah.
So is ketchup a habit though? I guess so. What makes a habit a habit?
If you're doing it consistently, there's kind of like 4 main items that make up a habit. There has to be a cue, a routine, a reward, and then a craving, and that creates a habit. So if you are, Kailey, you're always if you end up always eating the ketchup and you're doing it a lot, odds are there might be a habit at work there. Or there won't necessarily be a habit if you're eating the ketchup, but there could be. And you're going to need all 4 of those things in order for it to really be a habit. Especially the craving one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like an example of that, we could you guys eat McDonald's every now and then, right?
Are you saying like you guys like you don't?
Well, I do too. But
Oh.
you do or no?
Okay. When was the last time I had McDonald's?
I do.
2020
Yeah, I know
sometime.
you do.
Yeah, it's been a few months.
A few months.
Yeah.
Were you ever in that stage where like you would drive by and see those golden arches and that would be kind of like a cue where after you see that you just have a intense craving and you want to go to that drive-through and you start, maybe you're really young, maybe you're yelling at mom and dad and saying like we gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that. I know what you're speaking of.
So that would be kind of a habit, so long as like there's that visual cue of seeing those golden arches. It then triggers a craving, and that craving's only satisfied if you follow out the routine, which is to swerve past like 4 lanes and then go to the drive-through and get those nice French fries with the ketchup you were talking about, and burgers, and that'll satisfy your craving. So that is kind of what makes up a habit from what I was reading.
But what about a habit, like brushing your teeth or something? Like, am I still getting
Yeah, I got a story for you about that.
a
actually.
reward? Do I feel a reward? I guess so, in a certain way.
Yeah,
I get some minty clean teeth.
Yeah, it's the sensation you feel after brushing your teeth that kind of reinforces the habit of brushing your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
People actually used to not have that habit of brushing their teeth daily. That used to not be a thing. But and toothpaste companies are kind of the reason that people do brush their teeth twice a day.
Oh, right.
It's because
They tricked us.
yeah, there used to be toothpaste companies that were trying to sell their product, and they were trying to sell it based on cleaning off the plaque on your teeth and making your gums healthier and all that. But it never really caught on until this one toothpaste company called Pepsodent. They kind of unintentionally, they had like citric acid and a few other components in their toothpaste that had a little bit of a flavor, but the key thing was that it was a slight irritation to your teeth. So while you're brushing and while you're using this toothpaste, well, more like after you finish using the toothpaste, you're gonna have that clean feeling, like, you know, that
Yeah.
it's like that minty clean feeling. But that clean feeling actually apparently has nothing to do with how clean your teeth are actually getting or how useful the toothpaste is. It's just in there because people like to leave brushing their teeth with that clean feeling, and that's kind of a signal to them that it was doing its job. So without that, people will be way less likely to brush their teeth because they don't have any kind of signal.
No reward.
No, there's no reward. Yeah, exactly.
It's got to be similar. Like maybe mouthwash.
Yeah,
I know
I think
it's
so.
obviously effective in some way, but at the same time, you keep going back to it because of the way your mouth feels.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that you've killed the bacteria, but you go back because you go, oh, this is.
Yeah, that's the only way you.
And then,
that's the only way you think it's working.
And yeah, because I actually heard that apparently brushing your teeth with water is pretty much just as effective.
Yeah.
Like the toothpaste is almost primarily just for the mintiness.
Maybe
except
we can
for
have
the fluoride.
confirm.
The fluoride
I've talked
too.
to a dentist about that, actually.
But apparently,
Oh, yeah?
like the fluoride is the sole benefit. It's not like, well, from what I understand, it's not like, I used to think toothpaste was kind of like soap in the way that it like actually helps the dirt get off or something. But apparently it doesn't do that at all. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like the fluoride's there, which is helps your teeth, and then just the minty taste.
Right. And another one that's like that, like this is kind of a common theme with a lot of sales and marketing, is they kind of try to take advantage of the way human psychology works and habits, because at the end of the day, if you're in that business of selling to people, it's probably worthwhile to understand some of the psychology behind it. And another one there was Febreze, or Febreze, however you're supposed to say it, but they had their product was very good for removing odors, but initially they didn't have that nice scent within it as well. All it would do was remove the bad odor, but in that way there wasn't really much of a reward. And people would, let's say they'd finish cleaning, and I guess generally, I don't use Febreze much, but I guess for the most part, apparently people would clean their room, and then as a finishing touch, they give it a little spritz and spray down the room. And initially they were trying to sell their products without the nice scent, and it would just kind of remove the bad odor, but it wasn't enough of a reward. But then they realized, oh, if we add in just a little bit of freshness, like whatever their flavors are or scents, like I don't know, whatever they are, it's a nice little reward on top of the entire cleaning experience. So you finish cleaning, you give a nice spray, and you're like, wow, this is great. It smells good, and it's just it tops it off. And once they added in that scent, their sales kind of skyrocketed.
Wow, yeah.
Right.
I shampoo's the same shampoo.
You don't need the suds.
Yeah, I guess it never was sudsy before. And then
really?
and then but
Like,
if you're just lathering your hair and nothing's happening,
doesn't feel right.
it doesn't feel as good. I mean, what you don't know, you don't know. Well. But now that they've added the suds, it'd be hard to go back from it.
Really?
Yeah.
So they just added that to give you a little bit of fun in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so nice of them.
Ollie, can we just pause for a sec? Is your water bottle full?
Yeah, it is.
It's making me nervous.
It'll be fine, I think.
Ollie's water bottle is balanced on the couch cushion, and it's full.
The soft couch cushion. It's got no lid on it.
It has no lid.
Well,
and your hands moved awfully close, dangerously
did they?
close.
To bumping it?
Do
Yeah.
you
Okay,
think
I'll
you've
move it.
come into a habit of placing your water bottle in dangerous situations?
Yeah, just for the exhilaration.
Yeah, you little reward you get
Exhilarating
from it.
Ollie,
Yeah.
what are some
Adrenaline junkie.
what are two good
Daredevil.
habits you have in your life and two bad habits you currently have in your life? What two good habits are you most proud of right now? What two habits are you a little shy to talk about?
Okay. Two good ones. Sometimes the thing is, habits are a lot of time very unconscious, and you don't even really aren't really aware of them. Like, you might even be able to see my habits better than I can. I know some habits that you had.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was thinking, why are you pausing for so long? You have great habits. You work out every day. You meditate. You take time to read. These are all habits
Okay,
you
don't
built
boost
over
me up
time.
too much.
You do, though. These
Yeah.
aren't things that you You do not sway on these things. You actually do these things every
And
day.
talking about if I want to get similar habits in my life, and I want to make sure that they stay habits, like, how do I develop a habit? Like, in the way, do I have to follow this process where, like, because something like working out, it might not have the obvious reward, like, or the immediate reward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I guess it, like, obviously it does if you think about, like, getting in better shape and stuff. But sometimes if you just think about doing push-ups, it's hard to see the immediate reward after, like comparing it to spraying Febreze or something.
Right. For working out, I mean, it is one of those hard things to get yourself to do. But for that one, there are obviously rewards, and people end up having a habit of working out. And some people even end up getting addicted to working out. And the reward in that sense might be the actual, like, endorphins or, like, neurochemical effects on your brain that you experience after working out. Or maybe the feeling of, like, achievement or pride after finishing the workout. Maybe you notice immediate effects on your body after you're working out. Like, you finish working out, you have, like, a pump, and you're like, I like the look of that.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, there's going to be some sort of reward you get after it, and you're going to want some sort of cue to trigger you to start working out. And that could be maybe you walk by and you visually, like, you see your running shoes, or maybe you see like your weights or whatever like workout equipment you have, and that triggers you to work out. Or maybe it could be even you just see yourself in the mirror and you're like, time to work out. It could be like you watch like a motivational video. Whatever it is, there's going to be some sort of cue.
Okay.
And then at the end there's the reward, and in between there's the routine of you actually doing the workout. And like I was saying at the beginning, you need the fourth factor, which is the craving for a really strong habit. And so what the craving actually is that it's like an anticipation or an expectation that you are going to get the reward before you actually get it. So you might see the weights on the ground, or you see your shoes, and that already triggers the reward slightly, or you expect the reward to come. Like, you've learned through experience that if I put on these running shoes and I go running, or if I pick up these weights, I'm going to end up getting that reward. Mm-hmm. And once that association is made between the cue and the reward, that's when the habit becomes the strongest, because you start to have the craving.
Can you create a different reward than the actual activity? I'm thinking, let's say I'm having a hard time motivating myself to work out, and then I think about when after I work out, I'll reward myself with watching an episode of my favorite show, Parks and Recreation. Yeah. And then that will have the same effect. That will be just as beneficial if that's my reward, because the reward is not the exercise itself, let's say. Right. Hopefully that becomes that way, but I'm just saying, if I can't motivate myself to actually feel good about working out.
It could be that like you've set up in your schedule, every time you work out you're always going to reward yourself by relaxing and watching a show, or it could be after you work out you always eat some sort of meal. Yeah. So now you associate working out with the reward, which is eating the meal or watching the show.
Yeah, okay. Right, I guess it's conditioning, as we know in other ways that does work.
Yeah, I feel like in that situation it might be easy to cut out the working out and go right for the reward in some scenarios.
Yeah, I guess like ideally you'd want a reward that's actually kind of linked to the routine itself.
I like the idea of like activity pairing. I like that. Like I started to listen to podcasts when I would go running, and then what I would be looking forward to is like the podcast. Right. I would be like, it's an interesting podcast, and I want to listen to something for like half an hour, but it's like, and running's such a good time to do that. Yeah. So I'd be like, I can't wait to listen to this podcast, is what I was thinking, almost more so than I wanted to run.
I guess if it's the exclusivity of it is important. So if I'm watching Parks and Recreation 7 days a week anyway, and then I'm trying to integrate, I'll work out before I watch Parks and Rec 3 times a week, that's a little bit harder. But if you're just watching Parks and Rec after you exercise, it'll come quicker as a connection of activity to reward.
Yeah. So that'd be a good way to like kind of develop a habit in yourself, is like you to first understand the structure of how it works, figure out what are the cues, and then set up some rewards in place so that you end up wanting to do it consistently. Yeah. So if you want to exercise, like you're going to have to put some sort of reward there if it's not already doesn't come natural to you.
Sammy, what are 2 good habits you currently have in your life?
I guess like I just mentioned, the exercising. Mm-hmm. And a bad habit I have is probably eating unhealthy. It's like yeah.
This is no place to shame anyone, Ralliver.
Don't shame me,
I'm just agreeing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding though.
But that's, and maybe we can kind of talk. Maybe we can kind of talk to help me as well as the audience about the how, if there's a bad habit, which I understand like is a bad habit, but I still get that. I'll get the cue. And then like it gives me a nice little reward, and I like it, and I do it all the time. Like for me, like definitely fast food is one. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just hear somebody mention fast food, like they'll be like, oh, I had McDonald's yesterday, and then
Yeah, that's all it
the
takes.
queue hits,
There's
and
the
then I'm
queue.
like, ooh, McDonald's craving,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, that'd be a nice little reward for myself.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
like bag of chips watching a TV show or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
So
very relatable.
and it's like, it is a nice little reward, but
Yeah.
I think about it and I'm like, yeah, I probably eat fast food too much, but it's a habit. So how do I go about stopping this habit?
Yeah.
That's the difficult question, eh?
That's the difficult one. I think a lot of the time you have to replace it with another habit, because from what I was reading is that like habits don't actually necessarily disappear. Like you'll have a habit, for example, of driving. This is one of the, and this is the importance of habits, is it clears up kind of mental space and energy to focus on more complicated things. So you end up storing the like simple things that you're going to be repeating over and over in an area of the brain that is more like primitive and simple, I guess. It's called the basal ganglia. But what happens for the driving example is maybe the first time you're trying to like reverse out of a driveway is you're going to be consciously like thinking, okay, where do I put my hand? How should I be like spinning this steering wheel? Which mirrors should I be looking at? And then like, you're even thinking about your feet. Okay, I'm on the gas, now I'm on the brake. Okay, let's go. And you're like looking around, and it's it takes up almost all of your mental space. Like you can't really be thinking about anything else while you're doing that, because you haven't developed a habit of how to pull out of the driveway. But after you've done it a lot of times, it becomes essentially second nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do with habits. There's like every day, like there's like hundreds of habits that people have that maybe the first time you did it or the first few times it was more of a struggle.
Yeah.
But that's the purpose of habits, is that so you're not really thinking about this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It's just second nature, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, driving to work, like all that stuff is pretty habitual now. It's not really something you're thinking about. And there's good reason for that, because now on your drive to work you can think about I don't know, more important things. Or in your shower you're not thinking about how to put the soap on your body. You're just like, maybe you're thinking about some good ideas or singing or whatever you do.
I think about it, the pathways in your brain that are created when you have a habit, like if you're walking in a field and you walk the same path every day in the field, it will eventually, the path will get trampled down, and you won't be having as hard of a time walking through the grass, and so you'll get to one end of the field quicker. And that's basically what's happening in your brain with the pathways that are created when you have a habit. It's just second nature. The connections made in the brain are that much faster. But it's also important to go off the path in the field and create new paths, because that's how your brain continues to develop and learn.
That's interesting. I like that visual picture.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's less resistance after you've done it for a...
Yeah, and you know the way, and you're just, you don't have the grass rubbing against your leg because you've tamped it all down.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that reminds me of like basically the reason why a newer employee at any job is going to be probably more stressed out and slower.
Yeah.
Just because all the processes that you're supposed to do for that job have not really become a habit yet.
Yeah.
And so they're probably just like, their mind is way more occupied than some of the people that have been there for like 10 years, like the veterans in the workplace.
Yeah.
It's just
And,
like second nature for them.
Yeah. And just like the little things too, even like maybe they're like, how does this new microwave work in the lunchroom or something?
Yeah.
Oh,
Whereas like you
gosh.
could maybe eat your lunch and not even think about it.
I empathize with that. That can be really tough. That can really be really draining, the quirks of a new office.
Or when you go to like a new hotel room and you don't know how the shower water tap works on, you know,
wow.
how they're always different.
Do I relate?
Yeah. That's tough.
I was thinking about I always trick myself when I have to do something new. My mind instantly goes to, oh, you're not good at this, you won't be good at this is tricky, this is challenging, why bother? And I want to get into the habit of instead saying all those negative, unproductive things, saying, oh, I haven't practiced this enough to feel comfortable yet, or I haven't tried that yet. And the idea that everyone started from a place where they didn't know, every CEO or every person who comes off as really confident, or comedians who are performing or in front of thousands of people, all of those people started at a place where they maybe didn't picture that being their story.
Yeah. And I think you just kind of covered a key thing about, because I think about habits and I immediately think about brushing my teeth or trying to work out or something, but I think there's like so many habits in your thought process, in how you talk to yourself and how you make decisions, which are potentially not the greatest habits.
Yeah, well,
and nice
I was going to say a habit I feel like I have in my life that I've worked on is being positive, and it's always a work in progress, but I actually feel like of the habits I currently think of to my unique self is positivity being one of them.
Yeah, those ones I find really interesting too, actually. Just like because those are for sure habits as well. The way you think in certain scenarios, like let's say for example, you walk into a room full of people, there's going to be certain ways that you respond, maybe like your physical posture or the thoughts that you have. Those might actually be habitual too. Like every time you do that, you walk into a room,
which
you're going to do the
so
same
and
thing.
it's because like that thing that you were just talking about, Kailey, with the path that you've made. It's like when I get to this point, I take this path that I always take, and you're just so used to that.
Like for me, it's like I always, go to the person who I know the most and say, "Let me stay in this quiet corner where I'm comfortable." That
gives you a little reward of like, oh, this is comfortable.
I'm not nervous.
Person.
Actually, Ollie, what you just said made me think. You made me think about the idea of what personality is, because what is personality if not made up of all these small habits we've created within ourselves?
Yeah, that's a big
like,
question.
let's not get into it, but like,
wow. Well, I mean, we could, but
no, I feel like that's just something to think about though,
much.
because I feel like there might be a ton of emphasis put on you're born with a personality, but I really think your personality is created as you develop and grow, and I really do think that personality is less set in stone than people
that's
think.
what I really like the idea of that, especially like in just like giving yourself hope, because there's certain things in your life maybe you don't like. For me, it's like social anxiety I always had trouble with, and the idea that is possibly like a learned habit in a way that you can grow and change, and it can become like a skill, like something else you learn.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Talking to yourself that way that I just said, where you say, oh, I haven't practiced that yet enough to be in that position, like opposed to saying, oh, I'm shy, I'm socially anxious, I'm not good in large groups, but just, oh, I'm not at the place where I could be or where I want to be. Right. And here's the way I can practice and get there. Not, oh, I'm stuck here and this is who I am, because it's my personality, because it's not.
Yeah. Anything you've ever been, anything you're good at now, at one point in your life, you were no good at it. So you can look at whatever you're not good at right now and like that. Like it'll be something potentially you could be good at later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even like hobbies or things that you enjoy. Like I consider athleticism and specifically soccer to be a big part of who I am, and that is such a learned thing in my life. I'm not you know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, personality wise, or like, oh, Kailey's very athletic and she always has been and that's the way she is. It's like that's something that I found reward in and created a habit in, and now I enjoy those activities, and that's now that's a part of who I am, so much so that I don't know any different.
Think about to learning these skills initially, like maybe you were really young when you learned soccer or something, but I think it's really easy to get discouraged and kind of just label yourself as like I can't do that. That's not me or something. I'm just thinking about like trying to think of an example, like me going to like the gym for the first time and trying. I'm like I want to get physically healthier, but you go and it's like a little bit intimidating. I feel awkward. Don't know how to use these machines. And then I'm just like, I guess I'm not a person that goes to the gym. Right. Where it's like, maybe if it's just kind of something that you got to just stick with. I don't know if that's a great example.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the first time you go to the gym, that habit hasn't been created. Like you're not experiencing the rewards for literally the first time.
It's like the new employee at the job we were talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be like a little higher stress, more thought process going on, because you do have to figure out how to use the machines. Whereas like guy who's been there for 3 years and like bench press is like 405 for like a lot of reps, which is pretty good. He's
Not
just like
bad.
literally, he probably won't even be thinking about it when he grabs the machine. It's just like, I've done this 100 times, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But you're thinking, I don't know how to use this. That guy's gonna look at me and laugh at me because I don't know how to use this machine.
Yeah.
And the rewards aren't there, especially the actual first time you've gone. Maybe you've never worked out ever, and you've never experienced like the endorphins or the sense of accomplishment after working out, or you've never actually seen the physical like development in your body, and that can actually take a while too. So that reward's pretty gradual. So it might not it won't come right away, but over time I guess you'll start to develop the habit.
Yeah.
I don't know how many days it takes. I think it varies, but like that's the thing, you'd have to stick with it to actually like
habit.
Yeah, I think it definitely varies. It depends on probably how big the reward is, because I think you could develop a habit of like using drugs very, very short in not a long time, right? Like that's what I would think, is that these some things have such an intense craving and such an intense reward that
Like sugar.
Yeah, like sugar could you could develop a habit of that.
And then there's the less, like some things like that, sugar and drugs are very like obvious reward. Whereas like if you're thinking about like the habits of like your thought process and stuff, there might not even be rewards that you're necessarily aware of or paying attention to.
Yeah, that one's so complicated like it's really hard to analyze. But the one thing that I think helps to change your habits is, first you need to be like kind of aware of them, and then try to figure out what was the cue that made me do that thing, and what is the reward that I'm chasing, and why am I looking for that reward. So like Kailey, you gave that example of going into a group of people and then going towards maybe the person you know the best. So the cue might have been the anxiety that you felt when you stepped into that room, and the reward is, oh, I feel a little bit more comfortable when I talk to that person. So you start to develop that routine of, I'm gonna go towards that person, and maybe that person's not right in the room. So you get the cue of like, oh, I don't feel good, and now you have a craving that you need to satisfy. So you're looking around the room like, who can I go talk to that's gonna make me feel a little more comfortable, and that craving will persist until. Can
you include I like the visual. Can you include these 4 steps for a habit in a diagram form?
Yeah, I could try to describe it. There was one that I like from the book that they use.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like because I'm right now in my head envisioning kind of like arrows pointing, like, okay, this to this to this, and this is what it is, and I feel like that's a nice breakdown, or even in
Yeah,
right.
So there was one that I saw in the book about the habit of always looking at your phone like immediately whenever you get a vibration.
Yeah.
Right.
So the first visual thing that you could the first like thing you could visualize is that there'd be a vibrating phone, and that would lead to you going to pick it up, and then that leads over to you kind of getting I don't know, a little bit of entertainment or excitement or laughter or whatever it is. You look at your phone, you're like, oh cool, someone sent me a message or some new video popped up or whatever. And so that, does that help a little bit? Or
I guess more like I'm thinking, if you put this on Instagram, can you include this visually written, the 4 steps?
Visually written? I mean, I could
like a picture.
Like a picture.
Visual writing.
Yeah. A drawing.
Yeah. Can you draw out these 4 things?
Yes, I can. Whatever you want.
A cue. What does it go over it again?
Oh, the letters.
This is what I
you
mean.
want a little what is that, acronym or abbreviation?
No, not the letters, but just the four. It's a Q, craving.
So the craving is what drives the entire habit loop.
Okay.
Oh,
But the
okay.
ha-
So you start with a craving.
Well, no, craving's actually kind of like a stronger habit. So you need all four of these things, but you always start with the cue. There's going to be something that triggers
Okay.
your mind
Okay. Yeah.
and leads you in a certain direction.
Okay.
And so, like, they had an example of this where they had they did an experiment with monkeys, and what they did is they had monkeys in front of a screen, and they had different like shapes and colors popping up, and when a certain shape would pop up, it'd be like a yellow triangle would pop up on their screen. Their job was to pull the lever on a machine, and what would happen when they pull that lever is that some blackberry juice would come down. So that was their reward.
Okay.
And yeah, pretty good, eh?
Pretty good juice.
Blackberry juice is good. But for that example, what the cue is seeing that yellow triangle.
Yes.
The routine is to pull the lever.
Yeah.
The reward is to get that blackberry juice,
Yeah.
that sweet blackberry juice.
Yeah.
And then the craving starts to happen once they consistently do that, and they develop an association between, as soon as I see that yellow triangle, their brain would light up. Like they actually measured their brain when they were doing this experiment. So that's when the habit really starts to become strong, is once you get the association between the cue and the reward. So you'd see the yellow triangle, their brain would light up, and they would expect that blackberry juice, and they would start craving it. Whereas they did it with some monkeys who hadn't developed that habit yet, and they could easily be distracted. Like they would see the yellow triangle, and they didn't know that means blackberry juice, so they could pull them away from the computer or whatever the screen was. But the monkeys that had the habit developed, they were locked into that machine, and what they started to do is not give them blackberry juice, but because they had built up that association between yellow triangle, pull the lever, that equals a reward, they would start to get angry and like depressed. They're like, where's the blackberry juice? And they wouldn't leave the machine. They would still be thinking like,
they still had that craving. They still had that hope.
This sounds like an exact description of Las Vegas.
Yeah, slot machines. Yeah, it is really like you. And I don't know if they do this, but I was thinking slot machines, maybe they give you more wins at the beginning. I don't know is that a thing, but like I could see them doing that. I always thought,
because now it's such like it's more like a computer program, a lot of these slot machines that are like digital almost.
Yeah.
Like I always am like skeptical that it's actually like random, and that they're like they'll be like it's on like an algorithm that's like just enough to tease somebody.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure it is.
Like that,
it's the same with a phone. The pull down on your phone to refresh an app is designed with a slot machine in mind. It's designed to be a perfect habit forming calculation.
Yeah. Because I mean, for the slot machine, if they were to give you some wins right off the bat, that would help you to build that association between I put my money in, and that's going to end up equaling, I see 3 cherries or 3 sevens or whatever it is, and yay, a big celebration, big reward. And once they build that association in your mind, you're going to be like that monkey who's expecting the reward when you put in when you pull the lever. And then when it doesn't come there, you're still left with that craving. It's unsatisfied. So you're going to stay there. You're going to keep pulling the lever, keep playing the game, and be like, where is this thing? I'm expecting a reward. And that's how you now have a habit, and potentially you're addicted to slot machines.
Yeah, man.
And they do that intentionally too, which is kind of,
it's cruel because
like they take advantage of human psychology, and the well-being of people isn't necessarily considered very much.
I feel like that's what social media does too, right?
I'm sure, with some like advertising and
And even just how the apps are designed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said, Kailey, it's like designed to, I think not necessarily with your well-being in mind, but more so.
No, definitely not.
Vid-
Same with marketing of food. When we were talking about sugar at the beginning, I was listening to, or I was watching an episode about a documentary of sorts on sugar, and they interviewed like an advisor of one of the big like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, one of those big soft drink brands.
Yeah.
And they said, like, don't you feel that you are partly responsible for the epidemic that is obesity in the States? And this person was like, people can't read the nutrition label. That's not my problem.
Right.
But that idea that they don't take responsibility for the products that they're putting out, it does seem cruel.
Yeah. Because, I mean, taking advantage of people and their habits is like, you see it all over
Yeah.
the food
Sugar
industry
is-
sales.
Yeah.
And video games too, for sure. Like, you'll get like if you do a certain thing, maybe you get like, I don't know, a bunch of nice bright lights pop up on the screen, and you get like 100 coins or whatever, like stuff like that. It's just I'm sure they use it as well in video games to keep people staying. There's rewards for doing certain things in the game.
What are some other good habits? We're talking about, I mean, habits that are very relatable, but I'm thinking, what are some other good habits that are common?
That are common.
Hmm.
Exercise, I mean, is relatively common. The thing is, there's a lot of habits that we do every day that might not necessarily be good, or they're hard to say that they're good or bad, right? Like we were saying, backing out of the driveway, or like driving, that's a habit.
Yeah.
Is
So
there-
much
Good,
falls
but-
under the term habit.
Well,
like just
is
as
there
Yeah.
a difference between
interesting.
habit and routine? Like, in the way that, like, if I was eating the same breakfast every morning, is that really like a habit of mine? Or like, is there a difference between habit and routine, or are they like interchangeable almost?
I mean, I think they're probably pretty related. From what I was reading, is that routine is just like one component of a habit. So you don't necessarily have a habit if you're doing something and there's no cue and there's no reward.
Interesting.
But odds are is that there is sort of some cue and some reward. Like for you eating your same breakfast every day, like I don't know, you feel like a little grumble in your stomach or whatever. You start to get hungry, and you're like, time to cues you up, get that oatmeal or whatever you eat, and then you feel
I
good
feel like
after.
the definition of habit is changing for me just as we speak, because I understand that I like those 4 components that are required to have a habit, and I agree that there's more to habits than I realized, and I obviously there's more habits in my life than I realized.
Do you guys find that when you get into a lineup, you have the habit of checking your phone? Like if you're shopping around the grocery store or something, and then as soon as you
I try not to
get into the lineup, it's like that's like the cue, and you just like pull out your phone.
Yeah.
Apparently, they attribute the sale of like chewing gum has gone down a lot,
Oh, really?
and they think that it's because the only place you buy chewing gum is in that lineup at the grocery store.
Right.
And now nobody looks at those products because everybody's looking at their phone until they pay.
I could see that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And you know what I think the cue is for looking at your phone is like an anxiety.
I was gonna
'Cause you're
say,
like, I don't know what to do
bet
with myself.
people who aren't as socially anxious don't look at their phone right away as much, unless it's like a more purposeful, like, oh, I'm gonna text
And
this
it
person back.
could either be anxious, or maybe you do have like you have a habit of looking at your phone a lot. Like you don't necessarily like you're like addicted to your phone.
But I
was
see
with
the connection.
a friend today, and there was like, we were just talking, and there was like a lull in the conversation where both people talked, and like before I even like realized it, my hand was just going to like look at my phone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Why do I do that? But it's like built in like a habit. When when I think that awkwardness, it's like you feel awkwardness for 1 second, and it's just like, get me out of this.
Can't
somehow.
handle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Go to distract your mind.
Interesting.
Which is like,
Yeah, and it's you being aware of what was happening that will help you to change the habit.
Yeah.
Because you're aware of like, oh wow, I was about to grab my phone. Why was I about to do that? and it was because there was a reward in going to do that. It would take me away from this. And why was I wanting to get it taken away from this interaction with my friend? Oh, because I was feeling kind of awkward or anxious about it. Yeah. And that was the cue. So once you figure all that out and you're like, okay, but I don't actually need to look at my phone. There's nothing there. So maybe I'm going to address the root of the issue, which was, why was I feeling anxious and awkward? Was because that's, at the end of the day, that's your cue. So you could, if you want to change a habit, you need to kind of figure out why it's all happening, and maybe remove certain cues that are leading to you to do stuff.
Such an important part of it is well, I know I use this word all the time, but what's the root of it? Where is this actually coming from? Because you can't cut off the leaves every time. You have to say where's the root, and let's figure that out. For me, looking at my phone, I now am practicing the habit of, when I go to look at my phone, let's say in a grocery store line, or if I'm in a waiting room, I will default then to what is what's really nice about my situation right now. So I'm just saying, as maybe a practical thing that someone else might find helpful, because you said, Ollie, like, you have to kind of replace it sometimes, like replace the habit. So when I'm going to reach for my phone, instead I'll say, don't reach for your phone, and be like, wow, look at all the great things I'm buying in the basket today. This is really nice. I'm excited to cook this. And, oh, the line's not too long. We'll be there before we know it. And this is my last stop. And so this is great. I'll go home. I'll make a cup of tea. And and that's not even in the being present, because obviously I'm talking about things in the future, but just that idea that, that's my like kind of go-to exercise if I'm trying not to do something on my phone.
Right.
It's a really nice positive attitude you have.
Yeah, you maybe turn like the cue of the negative thing into a positive routine. Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling anxious. What should I do that's actually positive? Let me be grateful about the sweet potatoes I'm buying. I find that just a nice tangible thing. That's not like, oh, try to change it, or don't reach for your phone. And it's helpful to say, why am I reaching for it? Am I feeling anxious? All that stuff's really important. But then I'm just thinking, if as a kind of progressive thing, here's a nice exercise you could try. Then try to shift it from the phone to 5 positive things that you're thinking about.
That's a really beneficial exercise, because I think like a relatable habit for some people, definitely for me, is like just like the habit of, I always just want to be distracting myself with something. Like if there's ever, like, being alone with my own thoughts is like, I got to figure out something to do, whether you turn on the TV, go to like a computer, pull out your phone or something, you know?
Yeah. But suppressing those thoughts doesn't make them go away. So you have to ask yourself, why don't I want to sit with my thoughts? Yeah. I always love that one quote. All of man's problems stem from his inability to sit alone by himself for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Right. Just like the fact that you can't just sit there and not do anything. Yeah. That, like, all the components that are causing that lead you to so much unnecessary suffering.
Yeah, and that was like so eye-opening for me, starting to try and meditate, because it's like you're gonna have to sit there for 10 minutes, and I'm like, no problem. And then you start trying to do it, and you're like, it's so difficult, and you're like, have I never done this before? Yeah, like, I've never sat for 10 minutes and done nothing. That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. You're like, wow. Or when you actually try to do nothing, even if you're not meditating, and you're just like, let me just sit, and it's like, what? I've never done this before. We're just gonna sit and do nothing. Actually, speaking of meditation, we got a fan question. Really? Yeah. So this fan was asking, with the practice of meditation, you tend to become better at emotion regulation and not reacting from emotion. Typically, you are able to assess the scenario, how you're feeling, and then maybe react a little more rationally. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then their question was, through the practice of meditation, could you get to a point where, on the flip side of an emotion, let's say you're very excited about something, you might end up actually reacting downplaying it with less of a happy emotion, because your second nature is to let's remain calm and decide on how we will react. And so then, do you think that someone surprises you with a new car, you'll be like, very good. Right.
So their question
Well-
is, just that. Can meditation cause all emotion to almost seem more subdued?
Right.
Right.
That's interesting.
Well, I think, like, at least from what I've heard through the meditation stuff, is that, like, the goal of it is not necessarily to stop the stuff that's happening,
Yeah.
but it's more just to observe it.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily trying to judge or stop whatever emotion that
And
that
I don't
has
think it
arised.
actually does. You still feel those feelings as deeply. So if I'm very sad, it's not that I don't feel the sadness as intensely, but rather I'm able to have more productivity with that intense emotion, and maybe I'm just able to have a more healthy outlet for it.
Yeah, like, I think
and it's choosing which emotions you will allow to affect you and which ones you almost want to act on. Whereas you're like, every time someone buys me a new car, I'll get really excited, and you would say there's nothing wrong with that. I'll let that one continue as it's going.
Yeah.
But the other one where I burst out in anger in this situation, that one I don't like, and let's try and figure out some healthier way to deal with that.
And it just creates the control. It's not rather that you suddenly are numb to everything, but that you're just able to focus on what you want.
Because in fact, I don't think you could properly, like, subdue your emotions if you wanted to.
No, just like I said,
like
with your thoughts,
suppress them in it.
No.
If you ignore your feelings, they're still there. You actually can't run from your feelings. Like you have to address them in order for us to like healthily move through something.
And I think it's through the meditation, through, like, kind of just observing the negative emotion, that disconnects you from a lot of the suffering associated with that negative emotion. Because when you're just observing it, it's not as, like, all consuming, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you're almost just watching it, so it's a bit of a relief. But that's the whole point of meditation is like, it's the art of doing nothing. Like, you're not necessarily trying to control everything. You're more just observing it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the fan question.
Yeah, I think I know which fan that was. Shout out to them. Yeah. But
if any other fans have questions, we're happy to field them. Right?
yeah, no, absolutely. That would be fun, honestly, if there was some questions to.
There could be we could do a Q&A episode where it's like
a little
ask us
Q&A.
things.
Like, subscribe.
People
Submit
know nothing
questions.
about us. They think Ollie's probably the oldest child in the family.
When in fact,
It's a secret.
yeah.
Tune in next time.
Yeah, but just to tie that in though, Kailey, the meditation stuff, and I see it as really related to habits, or at least a super useful skill for trying to restructure your own habits, like for trying to break your own bad habits and whatnot. Because like we were saying, you want to be aware of why the habits are happening.
Yeah, or just even aware that they even exist.
Yeah, because so
100%,
many,
yeah.
most habits are, you're not aware of them, and you're not aware of you even picking them up. Like, they just happen, and then next thing you know, you just have a habit of, like, eating chocolate all the time.
Especially those subtle ones in
I feel
Was that a shot
personally,
fired
yeah.
at you? Yeah. No, I do that too, actually. I noticed that, like, almost every time I come home from work, I'll eat some chocolate.
Do you feel cued when you come home from work? When I'm done work, I feel the cue is, well, now I eat something, and it's often chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the habit of eating something sweet after dinner. I guess you would call that a dessert.
You
we all
But
do.
all, like, as soon as
Little
I
English
eat,
lesson
as soon as
too.
I eat the last bite of dinner, I'm like, where's this sugar?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the sweet little
There's your
treat that I
cue.
get? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my little reward?
Routine is you to say,
But we were
where's my sugar?
we were almost like trained
Throw a little
into
tantrum.
that habit. Like
Oh.
we were raised on
That's
that
what's
habit.
scary, is people can intentionally train you into habits.
Oh,
Like, we could easily train people into eating chocolate all the time. Like, if you just had some chocolate, let's say, like, every time you get home from work, there's like a nice little chocolate at the front door.
Could you make a friend like that? Like, every time they come and see you and you say, hey, here's this piece
Yeah,
of
you
chocolate.
actually
do you think
could.
that's
yeah.
what
And then they-
hotels do? They have chocolate on the pillow because they're like,
Do they?
Yeah.
I'm
Sometimes.
going to the wrong hotels. Not expensive enough, I guess.
Yeah, the chocolates on the pillows.
Yeah.
Huh. Lucky you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely
Interesting.
could. Like, they would start to build up the association of like, oh, whenever I hang out with Sammy, he gives me a nice Kinder Surprise or like a Kit Kat or whatever. And so like, they would, if somebody mentioned your name, if they had built up that habit, if they're like, oh, did you know like Sammy was like filming that video, they'd be like, who?
Yeah.
And they'd be like,
That's the
Sammy?
cue, eh?
And they'd be like,
Like,
Kinder
ooh, tasty
Surprise.
chocolate.
And they'd start to have that craving.
And
And
I
then
think
they'd call you because they wouldn't be able to satisfy their craving until...
yeah. On a more realistic kind of perspective, I think that definitely happens with when you're just hanging out with like a really positive person who it's like, and you leave hanging out with them with like feeling really good.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
right.
that-
That's like a less tangible, but more on the idea of the thoughts and the way people speak and the like if they're kind and
And
positive, all those things
and
that
I-
rubs off on you and you feel better.
Maybe that's the whole craving like social relationships and whatnot, and why they're, because you do get
You
like
get
a
the
little reward from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's really nice to have a friend.
Yeah, for sure. I used to have, if we want to talk about personal, why are you giggling?
So
thought you were gonna say,
you could have
I
easily
used
said
to
I used to
have
have
a friend.
a friend.
Yeah.
You're like, but not
Yeah.
anymore.
Just
I
like
kicked that habit.
Yeah, I broke that habit. But no, I was gonna say, like, Kailey, you were asking me about personal habits. One that I can think of, that was a really bad habit that I used to have, and not really bad. It was just like decent, but but it used to be. I used to play like Call of Duty all the time, and now that I learned about habits, I could for sure see what was happening there. Is because I would associate the end of school and going home with the reward of, as soon as I get home, I'm gonna play some Call of Duty. And so I'd be like looking at the clock in fourth period physics class, and I'd start craving that Call of Duty. And then yeah, you get home and the routine is you just run downstairs, maybe grab a quick bite to eat, start playing, get those rewards, and then next day repeat.
Yeah.
And that's how like a video game addiction can happen. I don't know if I don't know what the line between addiction and, I probably was addicted to video games, to be honest. I played so much, like I would just be thinking about it, like leaving school, I gotta go play right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too at one point.
Like I had like so many days played, if you check on the thing, like
Right.
Yeah, you did have a lot.
I would be playing like no matter what the scenario was, like bad weather, good weather, like I'd be playing. What I mean by that is like didn't matter what was going on in the environment, you guys would be playing music really loud.
Oh yeah.
But I'd just be like, I'd tough it out and just keep playing.
You still have your headset on, trying to talk
trying
to
to
your
talk
buddies.
to people, yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's really interesting.
That's one bad habit I can think of for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I mean, Kailey, you had a bad habit.
Oh.
You did.
Yeah.
Is this what came at the beginning when you were
Come
like,
on,
I can think of
tell them.
some habits?
Well, didn't you used to chew your nails?
Oh, yeah. But, okay, this is the thing.
I thought you were just gonna get. I feel like that was a good way to just get her to admit some habit we didn't
Oh,
even know
yeah.
about.
And then
You
it's
say, tell them that habit you have.
Yeah.
That's like when like you go up to your new employee and you're like, I don't care what everyone says about you. I think you're a good guy.
Like, what did they say?
Yeah.
It'd be like, oh, did you hear this? Yeah, I used to chew my nails a lot. And I guess it's a good example. Chewing your nails like 100% of the time, 10 out of 10 of times that people chew their nails, the root is anxiety. So it's a good example that for me, the cue to chew my nails was that I was feeling some discomfort and anxiety, and the habit was formed to a point where I chewed my nails even when I wasn't anxious, but just because it was so second nature. But it comes
Yeah.
from a place of feeling anxious.
Right.
Me. So
what is the reward? Like,
the reward is
the-
keeping myself busy. It's
Oh,
something
yeah.
to do. It's
Oh,
a little. It's
distracts
some
your mind,
consistent. Yeah. It's consistent that it's always there. I always have the option, and it's distracting, and And there's some comfort, I think,
because there
in
could
it
be
as well.
like some of these
Right.
things might be a more subtle reward, like you're talking about the party and going to the safer spot in the party or something. Like maybe the reward is that nothing bad is happening, like you'd like in the way that it's just like you're avoiding a potentially dangerous
Right,
situation.
the lack of something.
Yeah,
could
the
also
lack
be,
of something, like
Hmm.
it stays
Yeah.
the same and you're like, that was good, I think.
Or for it to be like a slightly positive thing is like your fear got reduced a little bit. Like you were like,
right.
oh no, what's gonna happen? And then that fear went down slightly.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily like you felt good, but your fear was reduced, and that's enough
right
for
for
it
some
to be,
for exercise. For some people, exercise, they're not looking to run marathons or even necessarily like look a certain way, but rather it's like, I don't want to miss the bus anymore, so my lack of a reward or reward is that the bus doesn't go by me.
right. But
So it's that
you
I don't
could
miss the bus.
leave earlier too, maybe.
Well,
No, you're gonna have to go through like a 6-month training program to get in better shape. It's the only
you
way.
can leave at the same
So you can
time, but
sprint.
you have to run
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
I gotta shave a couple seconds off this time.
no
I
word of
probably
a
would
lie.
do that, to be honest.
No
just
word of
'cause
a lie. I
such a
would.
struggle to.
I have, when I was a teenager, I refused to run for the bus to a point where I would miss the bus.
Oh, it'd be embarrassing.
So, yeah, it was so embarrassing, the thought of running to the bus stop if I was late and I was going to miss the bus, that I would walk to the bus and the bus would go by me by maybe 3 seconds. And if I had just run there, I would not have missed the bus. But I refused to run, and I don't think of that fondly.
Oh, yeah. Running to the bus was horrible. I did that so many times.
Yeah.
Just like, and the bus is partly pulling away. So many times this happened where the bus is partly pulling away. I start running, and then all the kids on the bus were like, they like point or whatever, and then they'd yell to the bus driver. They'd be like, stop. They'd be like, Ollie's still coming.
You would still walk and just be like, yo, what's that?
Yeah. So,
But maybe like to kind of tie that in, like the less obvious, like little subtle habits in your mind where like something like your mind probably says like, don't do that. Don't run.
Or did you see
this
other people, like
situation.
other people like me, and you're like, what a loser running for the bus?
No, it
And
was
then you're
all
like, I'm never
about
gonna be
me.
like that.
It was all about me not wanting to look silly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the triggers, like I feel like there's little habits in your head when like with like the self-talk kind of thing, like where somebody says something or like you try and say something and it's not received that well, and then immediately in your head you're like, I'm stupid.
Right.
Stupid. And it's
Right.
like that, in a sense, like it feels like a habit.
That definitely is a habit. Yeah.
And you're like, when this happens, I tell myself this.
Right.
And those ones are harder to even be aware of. Like you have to, I feel like, really pay attention to what's going on.
Which is why, like hand in hand, the recommendation for meditation is there, because
like
that's where it starts.
A fancy little quote I like from the psychologist Carl Jung. He was saying, what?
No, he's just really famous.
Oh, okay.
My boy Carl.
Yeah. Good lad, Carl. What he was telling me is, he said to me, like, until you make the unconscious conscious, it's going to direct your life, and you're going to call it fate. So,
Yeah.
does that make sense? Like, until you become aware of the things you're currently not aware of,
Yeah.
they are going to guide your life. So these habits that you're currently not aware of, they're guiding your life right now.
Yeah.
And you're going to get to the end result and just be like, oh, no, it was fate. It was destiny that I got here.
Yeah.
But you didn't realize there's so many unconscious things going on.
Absolutely.
And obviously you can't make everything that's unconscious conscious, just not the
Yeah.
way the mind works.
Yeah.
But the more you make conscious,
Yeah,
the more you'll have
absolutely.
a little bit more.
This podcast
Control.
has opened my eyes to just how much is in my
And
control.
I feel like there's a bit of like,
That's good.
it's like a bit of like pain in like becoming aware of like a lot of these things, because it's like you have to accept, looking back at your past, that you've been doing things that you could have changed, essentially.
I think sometimes
Right.
accountability is hard.
The accountability, yeah.
You want it. You almost want to put it on something else. You want to say, "This is fate. I'm just a shy person.
Yeah.
I'm not capable of this. I'll just keep this in my. I'll be in my comfort zone." And as soon as you say, "I'm accountable for what happens to my dreams and hopes in life and where my path goes," there's responsibility is hard sometimes.
Yeah, like maybe I was uncomfortable in that party situation because like I wasn't putting in any effort and maybe it's my responsibility
Yeah.
to make myself more comfortable.
Yeah, it's like a tough thing to do because when you put all this responsibility on yourself, it seems like almost unjustified. Like, how is it fair that all this is my fault? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't ask to be uncomfortable when I arrive at this party. I didn't ask for that. But the problem is the solution to getting over that is kind of taking responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Whether it was necessarily something that was your fault or not.
And there's
it seems like that
I
to
think
me, at
that's-
least. Does that mean?
Yeah, something can be not your fault.
Yeah.
And you can potentially blame somebody else or something for it, but it's like still your responsibility.
Well, and I don't think I
Right.
think you can make this successful change and look at negative habits in your life without having any negativity associated with them. Like for me, I can look at chewing my nails as something that's like, well, that's on me. I better stop chewing my nails, or more of an acceptance of this is where I'm at right now. I'm chewing my nails, and this is not where I want to be, in 6 months from now. And
Right.
this is what I'm working with currently. This is where my thought process is at, and this is the acceptance of the reality. And
Yeah.
here's the tools I now have with more information to make changes in my life for the better.
Right. And
There's no blame there. There's not me saying, "Oh, I'm so stupid for doing that." That's out
No.
of the equation.
And then you become aware of what is the cue that was causing you to chew your nails, and can that chewing nails be replaced with another habit?
Yeah.
Maybe like you were saying at your grocery store, you look down at your tea and all that stuff you bought, and you instead of chewing your nails, you look at your tea or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Or I visualize, myself in a comfy chair drinking a cup of tea, and that feeling, those same
In
feelings.
a comfy chair.
I actually don't own a comfy chair. I
Oh.
don't even own a chair like that.
Well, what is it that you're visualizing? Because then maybe for your birthday, me and Sammy could get something, but we'll have to know what is a comfy chair in your visualization.
Like a beanbag one.
No.
What is it?
I don't know, just like a nice comfortable chair that has a cool pattern.
Oh, it's got a cool pattern too.
Yeah, it's gotta be
Okay.
comfortable.
Is a comfortable chair like soft material, or is it like an Adirondack
Soft material, indoor.
chair? Eh?
I picture it raining or
Interesting.
So we're
snowing.
narrowing it down.
Oh, outside?
Yeah.
Or
An indoor chair outside.
No. I picture myself sitting in the chair while it's snowing or raining.
Oh, and you got a nice warm tea.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh. And do you currently have you don't have a chair right now, a comfy chair,
No, I have a couch.
and that's not doing it, is it?
This couch is like 8-10 years old, and it's really bad. So no.
It's a garbage couch.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll have to upgrade that couch
Thank you.
at some point.
Thank you. Okay.
Make your dreams reality.
Thank you. Should we final thoughts?
Yeah, maybe final. What's like one habit you want to break,
Okay. We'll
and
reassess
what's
in
one
6
habit
months.
you want to create?
Oh.
You guys
Go.
start first. Give me some time to think.
Yeah, I gotta think about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to create, want to break.
A habit I would like to create is taking time every day to study for 30 minutes or so. I don't want to make it too specific because I don't want it to be some outlandish thing that has too many rules around it, but
Yeah.
I would just like to study, maybe not every day even. I don't know if I'm now just making excuses, but I would just like to get better at studying
Anything
more
in particular?
consistently. Yeah, my focus currently is on childhood development.
Right.
That's cool.
A habit I would like to break. Chocolate. I mean, in a dream world, I would not eat as much chocolate as I do.
Right. Right.
Right.
That's dreaming big, though.
Yeah, because sometimes I think it's nice to give a little reward to yourself.
In moderation,
Yeah.
of course, but I am too conditioned after meals to eat chocolate.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because I was gonna say chocolate as well for me. It's something I want to break,
Mhm.
but then I was thinking like, why though? Like it's not that bad.
'Cause,
Especially
like-
because
You eat 90%.
And
Yeah.
for me, I think about like something like coffee or something, where it's like that's like an addiction, and like like it's probably not amazing for me health wise, like caffeine and rush and stuff, but it's like it's such a nice feeling in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like that's a nice little reward
That's
for
the thing
my life.
too. I think
Yeah.
it's like
Maybe it's a good habit,
pleasures
actually,
in
not a
life.
bad one.
Pleasures in life and balance is really important. I don't think we're trying to be some like perfect human specimen. We want to
No.
enjoy life as well, and that's okay. So yeah, I don't want to eat chocolate. Never. I want
Right.
to eat chocolate so
On
that
your
I'm in
terms.
control. Yeah.
It's more when it has like actual bad side effects and you're craving it so obsessively that it's
It
impacting
becomes like an
other
addiction.
areas of your life.
Okay.
Oh,
Like
right.
you would like maybe Kailey, like after work you have that craving for your chocolate, and
You
one of your
forget about picking up your children.
yeah,
or something.
your kids are like, "Where are you?" and you're not there, or your friends are like, "Hey, want to hang out after work?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "No, I can't. I gotta eat this whole bar of chocolate. I got like a lot of chocolate to
Yeah,
eat." And
Who's gonna eat this
absolutely.
chocolate?
But
Yeah,
that's
someone has
like
to.
basically what an addiction is when there's a negative impact on your life. So
Right.
that's a next level. But like for me, the habit is I'm conditioned to eat chocolate. No, I'm not forgetting to pick up my kids or not hanging out with my friends because I have to eat chocolate.
right,
And an interesting thing about the addiction, I think by definition, if it doesn't have that negative component,
It's not.
it's
just a
not an
habit.
addiction. Like if you're gambling and you always win, then it's not an addiction.
Well, wait.
Oh, but sorry, you could win and it still has. If it's not having a negative
If
effect,
it's not
on
having a
your life.
negative impact on your life, like you're then neglecting your hygiene or you're neglecting your relationships or
Right.
you're not showing up to
Right.
work or that like there's different
because you could be winning all the time and then you just forget about everyone in your life or something. And you're like,
Yeah.
I just want that W from the.
Yeah.
okay,
yeah.
what
Yeah.
are what Sammy, you're next.
Break and create. I think.
The old 1-2,
Yeah.
break and create.
Oh, 1-2.
Classic.
I think I'll answer both of them with the same thing because I would like to
Little
replace
two-piece.
a habit with a habit, which is like, didn't you suggest
Double
that's
kill.
the best way to do something, or like to like get rid of a bad habit,
Yeah.
or hopefully, because I think I have the habit of at nighttime just turning on the TV and watching a show, and I think I would rather read a bit of a book every night instead of. So if I could substitute the habit of watching TV with reading, I think that's what I would like to do.
Right.
Did that? You're smirking now.
No, I'm just thinking because now it's my turn and I didn't. It would be nice to have some time to kind of think, but so the pressure's on now. But
Yeah.
bad one, Kelly. I was thankful you said chocolate because that reminds me of my chocolate problem.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'll eat like a whole bar of chocolate every day,
Yeah.
and it's not a small bar.
Yeah, we will put a little asterisk there. You're eating 90% dark chocolate. Like you're eating mostly cocoa with a splash of sugar.
Yeah.
Also, not to put the blame on anyone because we don't need to, but like
We could, though.
we again
Sounds like the blame's gonna come down.
Yeah,
on somebody right now.
Yeah.
we were heavily conditioned to see sweets, desserts, sugary substances
As the number one prize in the world.
Yeah, the number one thing you could get as a kid. So this is a long, hard habit to break. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm just saying this is not you and I being like, oh, we've recently discovered chocolate. This is decades of us both being told that sweets are like the biggest reward you could get in life.
Right. And I'm seeing now that habits don't really disappear that easily because I would buy a lot of chocolate at Food Basics, but then they went out of stock for like 2 months.
Because you bought it.
Yeah, because I bought it all. But then there was none every time I'd go to the grocery store. And so I
Someone
couldn't
was trying
buy
to give
anything.
you a gift.
I wouldn't buy any chocolate, and then I'd go home and I just wouldn't eat chocolate for a couple months.
Okay.
But as soon as they I thought maybe I'm breaking the habit, I'm not eating it. But as soon as they restocked, I just got right back
You got
on the
that
train.
cue again, eh?
Yeah, that cue got me again, and now I'm eating a lot. But even that, I'm thinking like it's not that bad though. Like I kind of like it, right? So, and it's pretty. It's in some people might say it's healthy for you. The dark, like the 90% dark.
Okay, well, okay. So what habit do you want to create?
I don't know why that was funny the way you said it.
Yeah. Like, all right, well, let's get on to the next thing.
Okay then.
Yeah. Creating ones.
You already have them all.
Yeah.
You do have like the heavy hitters of good habits.
Some that I want to kind of create is like less dilly-dallying, kind of. Like,
Is that a scientific term? Or?
Yeah. I've heard a few scientists use it.
Okay, wait. I feel like I often call you out on your dilly-dallying.
Yeah.
Am I helping you, or
Can we
is
get
the
a definition of dilly-dallying?
Yeah, and I'm surprised you said you're calling me out, because I don't even know what kind of dilly-dallying are you calling me out
Oh
on?
my gosh. Let's say we're supposed to leave out the door 10 a.m. 10:01. I'm like, Ollie, what are you doing? We're late. We've got to go. This is ridiculous. Hurry up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. You should have thought of this before. Your time management is poor.
It really just ripped me apart.
Yeah,
eh?
he is roasting.
Yeah.
No,
You
but I do
suck.
that. I do that.
You're never gonna amount to anything.
Yeah.
No, I call you out on time
And that's why I
management
don't
quite a bit.
follow up. Yeah, you do. But the problem is, I think
So is it helpful? What do I need to
the
do?
problem is, I think that in that kind of dilly-dallying, when you're yelling at me, there's actually a little bit of a reward in
Defiance.
yeah, because then we'll get into a little battle and it's a bit of like a little fun kind of. So then my habit is encouraged to continue to dilly-dally. So you're actually
So you've
making
answered
me
my
dilly-dally
question.
more.
You've answered my question. It's not a helpful way to support you in creating your habit of not dilly-dallying.
Yeah, I guess not.
I will stop effective immediately.
Were you, when you brought this up initially, were you talking about the same dilly-dallying Kailey's talking about?
No, not really.
Oh.
I was just thinking, like, sometimes I'll just I don't know, like if I need to go like shower, I need to go do something, I might just like get kind of distracted by something.
Right.
And then just noticing that and then going to do what I actually wanted to do.
Right.
And then that's one thing I just noticed you can become almost like infinitely more efficient at, is just cutting out little pieces here and there.
Yeah, I do that a lot too, like procrastination kind of thing,
Yeah.
where I know I have to do X and I'll just do Y for longer to put it off, like,
Right.
or I just not addressing, like, yeah, I'm just dilly-dallying.
Yeah, dilly-dallying is a big epidemic. And Kailey, I don't mean like that I actually intentionally dilly-dally with you. I don't want you to think. Is that what you think?
Sometimes I wonder.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Because sometimes you do create good stories or good like situations, like the Five Guys ones, out of a dilly-dallying scenario, right?
Yeah, we've never addressed Ollie and I had a major blow up last summer due to an event that occurred near and in Five Guys restaurant. So we'll discuss that maybe next week.
Yeah, let's discuss that next week. But that was something that almost shattered
Tore
our
us apart.
entire relationship. It was really heated. Words were said that should not have been said, and physically it got a little heated as well. Everyone just was
Hot.
aggressive all around, and yeah, it was a tough situation to go through. Even there's a bit of a shock factor. I mean, like a ripple effect between the people in our environment, other than just us, like family, friends. A lot of people were affected, and Five Guys could do that to people. It's not super simple as to how it can, but it did it to us, and we'll talk about it another time to try to hopefully maybe make it other people not go through the same Five Guys scenario that we did, right? And
Right.
it was tough, but we'll get into it. Stay tuned, and we'll talk about it another time.